I'm going to teach you how to structure and design your presentations from start to end for maximum impact. Hi guys, my name is Akshita and welcome to Presentation Basics. This is the first video in the Presentation Basics series. I wanted to take up presentation basics in detail, but that would make for a very long video, which is why I have decided to break it down into shorter and more digestible videos. In this video, I'm going to outline the key components of a good presentation, and in subsequent videos, we'll take up these components one by one, look at them in detail, and understand how to use them. So let's start. Presentation in its simplest sense is when you take an idea and you present it. Of course, you're not going to present in vacuum or to the walls. You're going to present to someone. This someone is your target audience. So presentation is when you present an idea to a target audience. Now there are some key components to a presentation which together make up your entire presentation. If you're mindful of these components and you use them well, you can come out with a great presentation. Let us now look at each of these components one by one, see what they are, what they do, and how to use them for maximum benefit. The first component is target audience. So as we saw earlier, we don't just present in vacuum, right? You present to somebody else. This somebody else is your target audience. When you're making a circle, for example, you take a center and around the center you make the circle. This center can be equated to your target audience. All your arguments, all your presentation has to be molded, has to be tailored around your target audience. If you fail to get through to your audience, no matter how good your presentation is, how well dressed you are, how well you designed it, it amounts to a bad presentation. So you need to keep it in your mind to always tailor your presentation around your target audience. Next, we come to presentation aids. Presentation aids are all the aids that you use to communicate your ideas clearly and effectively. These include your PowerPoint presentations, speakers if you want to play a video or an audio clip, mics, cue cards, business cards, pamphlets, whiteboards, projectors, laptop, markers, pens, and pointers. So all these aids, they come together and they help you put across your points clearly. But the only thing with these is that you need to use them very mindfully. Don't just use them because everybody is using them. If you're going to use an aid, make sure it serves a purpose. It solves a problem. Now we come to time. Time is one of the most important and overlooked components in a presentation. Time can be very useful if you understand the importance of it, and it can sabotage you just as much if you don't. Time acts like a flashlight in the darkness. It guides you. A presentation that is 2 minutes long is very different from the one that is 20 minutes long. One that is 5 minutes long is extremely different from an hour-long presentation. Time guides your entire structure, the amount of content you can cover, the presentation aids that you can use, the way you design your entire presentation. All of it depends largely on the amount of time you have in your hands. It is a limited resource that you have and that you want to use very wisely. Treat time like you would treat money and structure your presentation factoring in the time that is allotted to you. Now we come to presentation structure. Presentation structure is now when you finally start to make your presentation. Everything before this, you had to factor things in you to keep them in your mind, with target audience, with your presentation aids, with your time. With presentation structure, it is now that you finally start to make your presentation. With this, your goal should be to have a very powerful and gripping introduction, a logical body in which one idea flows into the next seamlessly, and finally, a very satisfactory conclusion. You also want to take care that all of this revolves only and only around your main argument. Remove anything and everything that is superfluous so that finally you have a very crisp, very clean structure with a gripping introduction, a logical body, and a satisfactory conclusion. We now come to presentation design. Presentation design is how your presentation interacts with the audience. Now, design is something very tricky. So let's first focus on our goal. What is our goal? Our goal is to get through to the audience in the best possible manner. That's our sole goal. So with design as well, this is our goal, to get through to the audience. So it then follows that however we design our presentation, it should be such that we don't distract our audience, we don't confuse our audience. Instead, we guide them gently through our topic. We help them understand. We are there to be understood, not admired. So now another thing that's very tricky with design is that while there are some rules to it, a lot of it comes from experience and from this feel. And that is the best and the worst part with design, the amount of flexibility that you have with it. For now, all you need to understand is your presentation design is how your presentation interacts with the audience. So it needs to be very welcoming. It needs to help your audience and guide your audience. Having discussed this, let us look at a few slides. Look at this slide. It's very simple, it's very clean, it's plain even, but still it serves its purpose. There's a lot of white space, which is very comforting. Text is perfectly legible. Compare this slide with this one. There's very little breathing space. There's a huge block of text, which is something you never want with your slides. Your eye doesn't know where to rest, where to go. You don't know what the main point is, what the heading is, what you're trying to say. And it's just not good design. It leaves you very confused. And obviously, if you're presenting, you can't expect the audience to sit and read everything off of your slides. Compare that with this one. Now, the elements that you've used are terrible in this one. Even though the text is very simple, the contrast is such, the background is such, it's very noisy, you can't make out. It confuses your audience, regardless of how good your content is, just because your design is so bad. I promise that in subsequent videos, we're going to look at some rules at least to help you out of this situation. Last, but definitely not the least, is the element of yourself. You should always consider trying to put in an element of yourself in your presentations. It gives your presentations character. It makes them unique. It makes them different. It makes them interesting and personal. You always want to do that with your presentations. For example, you could have some relevant memes in your slides. You could even add pictures of yourself doing a particular thing if it fits. You always want to account for a little bit of that, a little bit of interaction, a little bit of personal connection. You could add a video or you could add an anecdote. You could have some time allotted for audience interaction. You should always try to connect your audience with your topic. Only then will they care about it, and if they care about it, they will listen to you. And that is your goal. Your goal is to make them listen and make them understand. Another thing I wanted to add here is to suit up. On the day of the presentation, please try and look your best. Wear the things that you feel confident in. For example, I wear my high heels, a skirt, some makeup, dainty jewelry, some perfume. It just makes me feel very confident. Find out what makes you confident, what does that for you, and please, for your presentations, suit up. Let's just have a quick recap then. In this video, we discussed components of a presentation. The first one was target audience. We learned that we need to tailor our entire presentations around our target audience. Next, we learned about presentation aids, how they help us communicate clearly and effectively. We understood that we should use them very deliberately, very mindfully to put across our point. Next, we understood about time and its importance. We should always factor in time in our presentation structure as well as design. It dictates the entire course of the presentation. It dictates how much content we're supposed to cover, what aids we can use, and a lot of other things. Next, we saw presentation structure, and we understood that our presentation structure has to be very logical. It needs to go from a powerful introduction to a logical body in which one idea flows into the next, and finally, a very satisfactory conclusion. Next, we learned about design. We understood that design is how your presentation interacts with the audience. We learned that our goal is to get through to the audience. And for that, our design must not distract the audience, but rather it should gently guide the audience around our topic. It should make them understand what we are trying to say. Finally, we looked at the element of yourself. We understood how important it is for your presentations to have a personality of their own. We understood the importance of making a connection between the audience and our presentation, and the catalyst to which is yourself. So thank you so much. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from it. If you did like it, please consider liking and also subscribing. In the subsequent videos, we'll take up each of these components and we'll look at them in detail. I'm going to create a playlist, so make sure you check that out. And yes, thank you so much.